Hello everyone and welcome to another unit review. This time on the global side, we are taking a look at the old Christmas units. Their 7 stars are in, and are they any good? Well, if Reddit's to believe, then there's a lot of controversy. Some people like some of the things that the units got, some people don't. And to be fair, taking a look at them, yeah, I can understand kind of both sides of this argument. Taking a look first, we are going to be looking at the older units first because age before beauty or some shit like that. Anyway, let's talk about the units, and starting with White Knight Noel. Why are we starting with White Knight Noel? Well, mainly because probably the one that I am the most scared of. So let's get it out of the way. Now, in terms of my trend with reviewing support units on the global side, honestly, I'm not super familiar with, what is it, Illusionist Nickel? Illusionist Nickel has gone a long way to make certain units on the global side much better, because the way I understand it, he has an ability that basically allows a provoke tank to be a cover tank, or something along those lines. And that is a pretty cool thing that we on the JP side do not have. It is an interesting way of making provoke tankers just kind of better. And so, yeah, I think that's pretty interesting. Now, and if I got that wrong, then I guess correct it. But whatever Illusionist Nickel does, he's apparently on the rankings paired with many provoke tanks, because provoke tanks to make them cover tanks or whatever. But this is something that I'm always curious about, is the efficiency of having 2 units to take up what should be 1 unit's job. And in that case, is it really that effective? I guess some people who are working on a budget and budget units and only have so many units, it does make a lot of sense. But enough going on about that, and something that is just whatever. Let's talk about White Noel's kit by himself. Now, looking at his 7-star, he did get a fairly nice boost to Spirit, which is probably pretty good, because now with his 7-star kit, he essentially becomes a magic cover tank by himself. His defense is 185 base, whereas his Spirit is 200. He can put extra 65 points into defense, while only 40 into Spirit. It kind of puts him in a spot where, you know, his Spirit isn't quite as high as it could be just on raw stats, but his defense is slightly higher. Now, I get that he is a provoke tank originally, but it does make him a little bit mixed. That can be really good if you have Illusionist Nickel or whatever you need to make that, cover. But for a Spirit tank, it should be noted that Awakened Rain just has a higher base Spirit and can, I do believe, also put in a whole bunch of extra points. I believe it's 65, but let me just double check that. Yeah, an extra 65 points put into Spirit. And that makes Awakened Rain just, at least in that sense, a better magic tank. But some of the nice things that I should say about White Knight Noel, I mean, some particular element protection, although you may not want to bring him for a fire one, or a fire trial, just because he has natural weakness to fire. Maybe there's enough elemental resistance to cover it on the global side, but still. Continuing on, looking at what he got in his 7-star. I'll Protect You is his magic cover. It's pretty high damage mitigation, and it lasts for 3 turns, so pretty good. It's not locked to a cooldown either. He has Power Mode, so basically dual casting of black magic, because he got some new black magic spells. Blizzard Wizard, which is not only fun to talk about, it's fun to say too. Increase ice and wind resistance 75% for all allies, and mitigate damage taken to the caster by 75%. That's pretty damn tanky. I'll cheers to that. And Overdrive Activate. 5-turn cooldown, available turn 1. Increase magic 200% for 4 turns for himself, recover 10,000 HP, 300 MP, and enables for 4 turns to the caster turbo mode, which is giving me bad flashbacks to Jingle All the Way. So, sorry if you like that movie. For equipping his TMR, he gets extra magic HP MP, some wind resistance, and autocast ultimate defense at the start of battle. And basically his kit, looking at it, interestingly, he does get dual wielding of stabs, rods, and maces. If he's a magic tank, then the double staffs is particularly nice, but shields can also be particularly good, so this is good on the whole, but it's just kind of, I mean, if you can equip shields, wait, hold on, can you equip shields? God, I can't misspeak. Yes, you can. Of course you can. Anyway, depending on what you equip to him, you can have a little bit, you will get some extra stats. If you have a hat, it's extra magic. If helmet, extra defense. Light and heavy shields both give the same, and depending if you put a rod, staff, or mace on him, this might be the thing where dual wielding is a little bit better, because you could get spirit and HP by putting a staff and mace. But, 40% total. Sometimes you need that shield, especially if you need safety bit for a fight. But the one thing I do like is chance to ignore fatal damage. 80% chance of that happening when his HP is above 5%, max one time. So, yeah, I think White Knight Noel got a pretty, or maybe it's supposed to be Noel because it's Francais. Anyway, Tornado, Blizzard, and Freeze are the 3 new spells he got. Freeze, obviously a nice chaining ability, and same with Tornado, he can chain with some magic users. I don't know if his magic stat, because I haven't built him, I don't have him, I don't know if his magic stat will ever be necessarily that great. I mean, as I guess a secondary chainer, maybe, but if you're trying to put output damage, then you probably just want 2 mages, and maybe you just want this guy to be buffing or doing something else, and it might be kind of difficult to find a time when you can get him. Also because, you know, his cover lasts for 3 turns, and if you're putting ice or wind sense, you might be doing that, although you can't do it all the time, or, you know, maybe you're doing some other ability, so it's kind of, I'd be interested to see how that works. Should also say Turbo Mode allows him to use triple magic in a single turn. And Ultimate Defense is resistance to charm. I wish the layout on these things were a little bit... Anyway. I mean, essentially a really nice magic cover tank now. Also, his Limit Burst is something worth mentioning because it increases 150% defense, magic, and spirit to all allies for 3 turns, and restores 40% of their MP too. All of that is really good. His Limit Burst costs 36, so it's getting up there in terms of expensive, but 150% is a pretty good thing for a mage team, not so much for an attacker team. And this is something where White Knight Noel has... So, while I would say that White Knight Noel is a great magic tank, I am going to say that I still prefer Awakened Rain to him for a couple of reasons. One, Awakened Rain gets some really good story equipment that can boost him pretty nicely, especially if you enhance it. I know that's what I did on the JP side. Worked great for a long time. Awakened Rain also has some particular chaining abilities, so in that sense, he's kind of like it. White Knight Noel obviously seems to just synergize more with mages. Awakened Rain can potentially synergize with other. I mean, they're comparable, but Awakened Rain, at least from the initial stuff, will have just at base stat wise has a higher spirit, so that's kind of nice too. Long story short, if you're not gung-ho on him, and obviously to all of you people who are gung-ho on him, he's amazing, he's perfect, whatever, but for anybody who already has Awakened Rain, I don't see him as being the most incredible thing ever. At least in terms of a magic cover tank, which is kind of the main, what feels like the main focus of his 7-star. So yeah, I think he's good. I think everybody should be pretty damn happy with him. But he's definitely no CG Charlotte. Let's put it that way. Alright, so next I think we've talked enough about White Knight Noel. Let's talk about our next unit on the list. Let's do Christine. Now, Christine is one of the ones that I've just really loved Christine's sprite. I think it is just one of my favorite sprites, especially on the global side. It might actually be my favorite sprite on the global side, now that I think about it. Now, looking at her 7-star kit, she is mainly a mage, so 200 base magic stat with an extra 65 points put in. Definitely not the highest as some of the mages, and Quill is like a fair number behind Ellie from the Xenogears banner, because I have a feeling that is coming up for the global side, so I am going to mention it as much as I damn well please. Anyway, equipment-wise, she's fairly limited, but I wasn't expecting this girl to equip heavy armor. In her 7-star, she gets dual cast, not triple cast. I mean, for black magic, feels pretty standard for this time, I guess. It's not great, it's not bad, I don't know. I feel like I would want to be using her cool, unique abilities, not necessarily freeze, even though freeze is a chaining ability and could be worked really nicely with Medina, especially if they both had triple cast. I get it. Snow Surge, 6-turn cooldown available turn 1, increases 150% magic for only 3 turns, enables for 2 turns to the caster Multi-Frost, which I do believe, allows her to use 4 abilities in a single turn. She does have Frosty Touch, add a ice element to physical attacks for 3 turns to 1 ally. Kind of nice for finding a chaining partner, if she can have a chaining partner. And on a 6-turn cooldown available turn 1, increase limit gauge by 30 to the caster, decrease ice elemental resistance to enemies for all enemies, 3 turns. 100% ice debuff works pretty nice. You could fit a 7-star Christine maybe into a party with Fravia or something and get a little benefit off of, ice debuffing the enemy while this girl is also doing damage with the ice element. So that's pretty cool. I mean, it's a nice character, it's a nice banner. There's going to be a nice joke somewhere in here. I could have quoted Batman and Batman. Wait, is it Batman? Yeah, it is Batman and Robin. What killed the dinosaurs? I'll let someone in the comments answer that one. Looking at what she gets for passives, Snow Bear's Protection, which is just the cutest little sprite. I'm totally stealing that. And done. Increased defense, spirit, and HP by 20%. Physical evasion 20%. Upgrades limit burst. She has icy powers. Increases magic. Gives some extra modifiers. More magic. More spirit. HP. Increases magic 50% when either dual wielding or true dual handing. So yeah. Oh, and she also gets Blizzard and Freeze. So Freeze gives her some chaining options, although only dual casting. It's not super that great. She doesn't seem to get much in the way for passives to some of her previous abilities, which is kind of disappointing. And while quadra casting is pretty amazing, getting it off of Snow Surge is a little slow since it's on a 6-turn cooldown. You'll have to have her limit burst. Thankfully, her other cooldown ability does give her basically her 7-star limit burst. Her 7-star limit burst has a 12.9 times modifier, adds the ice element to physical attackers for 2 turns to all allies, and enables skills for 2 turns of Multi-Frost. So the Multi-Frost thing is pretty nice because it just gives her essentially quadra-casting of her abilities. It's also, I do believe, she has pretty good choices for her Multi-Frost. But I think one of the things that some people might be underestimating is just giving an entire party the ice element, especially because she could debuff for the ice element for multiple turns, then, you know, use her limit burst, which she gets from that cooldown ability, to give the ice element to everyone else, and then you're elemental chaining with pretty much anyone. It's kind of a little bit support, which doesn't necessarily jive with a lot of people's opinions on Christine, but I think there is still some stuff here. I think there is some. It's a little disappointing she doesn't essentially have quadricasting on turn 1. She does still have her enhancements coming up, so there is a potential chance that we see something good there that could give her a little bit more. I'm not entirely sure that we're seeing the entire picture yet with Christine. But for now, I don't know. I don't hate her as much as some. Chalk that up to the fact that I just like her design, or that I like the ice element, but I think there is some really good stuff in her kit, and it shouldn't be underestimated. Alright, and now we get to talk about our last unit, Kryla. And Kryla is the one that I think a lot of people, especially people in my Twitch chat, were kind of excited about. Now, she gets a nice boost to her spirit as well as defense. 200 spirit is pretty good for something that isn't a magic tank. Stat-wise, increasing with door pots. This is the global side. Oh yeah, and I guess I should be wearing this. Now it's really a Christmas review. Anyway, taking a look at her stats, an extra 50 points put across the board kind of is, you know, pretty standard. What's really interesting about Kryla is, you know, well, her limit burst is a big one to me. Mambo Hodgepodge, maxed out in a 7-star, 26 crystals, 14.9 times with using Spirit, since her Spirit stat's the highest. Good. 5 random status effects. Inflict stop 89% for 3 turns to all enemies. Hello, potential arena thing. Okay, you gotta charge the limit burst first, but it's still there. And enables access to Cursed Eye for 3 turns. What is Cursed Eye? Well, it is an inflicts hex, 5,000 points of damage, negative effects per turn for 3 turns to all enemies. Kind of an interesting ability. I'd be really interested to see what that how that exactly plays. Passives in her kit, Forbidden Magic, equipping her own TMR gives her extra spirit and MP, sleep, paralysis, confuse, and petrify resistance, autocast Forbidden Magic at the start of battle, which Forbidden Magic increases resistance to attack, defense, magic, and spirit break 100% for 3 turns to the caster, so the enemy can't debuff her right at the start, which is kind of interesting. Archaic powers, increase spirit 30%, increase modifiers for some of her old abilities, increase defense 20%, increase HP and MP 20%, and autocast Winter Witch at the start of battle. And what is Winter Witch? Well, that is a good question. There it is. Increase 120% spirit to the caster for 3 turns. There you go. So if that just auto-casts, you get a 3-turn boost at the start of the fight. I mean, it potentially makes her a little more survivable, just because she can't be debuffed, and she gets a little bit of a buff, and Spirit stat, you know, just kind of helps a unit be more survivable, so that's pretty cool. Now we get into the rest of her 7-star for abilities, Calamity Brew, which decreases, basically it's a full break 70% to all enemies for 3 turns. And increase limit burst gauge by 13, so half of her limit burst, and you debuff the enemies 70% for 3 turns. That's pretty darn good. It is available turn 1 and on a 6-turn cooldown, so it is a little slow. Just a little on that one. Next one, Impending Doom, 6-turn cooldown, available on turn 6. Decreased resistance of all elements 60% for 3 turns to 1 enemy. Enable skills for 3 turns to the caster, Eye of Doom. Ooh, scary. Which is a hex damage for 1 turn to the enemy of 150,000. Interesting. Just flat damage. Dobby is probably going to like Kryla, actually. Now, but Impending Doom is available on turn 6 turn cooldown, so you do have to last until then. Dark Covenant, decrease attack, defense, magic, and spirit 100% for 5 turns to the caster, inflict a whole bunch of status effects to the caster, and increase limit burst 13 crystals. So there's the other half. So if you were to cast Dark Covenant and Calamity Brew, you basically give this girl her limit burst. Now, if you have, just her maxed out as a 7-star with her TMR, then she really doesn't get any debuffs from Dark Covenant and just essentially gets half of her limit burst. Dark Covenant not being also on the cooldown is pretty nice too, since you can just cast it and get regular access to her limit burst. Yeah, maybe for Arena, this girl is actually better than I'm thinking. And our last one, Dark Anathema, and I think I'm saying that right. Available turn 1, 6 turn cooldown. Increase 170% spirit for 5 turns to the caster. That's pretty nice. Removes any breaks from the caster for any of the stats. Enables skills for 6 turns to the caster. Jinx anti-defense pot and Jinx anti-offense pot. Enables for 4 turns to the caster. Witchcraft Plus. And Witchcraft Plus basically allows her to use a whole bunch of her abilities twice in 1 turn. And the anti-offense and offense and defense are basically 74% breaks for either attack and magic or defense and spirit for 3 turns to all enemies. So Kryla ended up being basically kind of a fixed damage breaker in her 7-star. And I think it's pretty damn good. It does take a little bit of work to unlock it, but it should be noted that also that the cost for Jinx, anti-defense pot, and anti-offense pot are 13 limit burst crystals too. So this girl is all about that limit burst cost. You need to be trying to get limit burst. But with that being said, she's pretty interesting. The fact that spirit is just so important to her and she has ways of increasing her spirit is really quite neat here, because it makes her essentially a survivable, pretty good breaker, providing you can manage her limit burst crystals properly. And to be fair, I'm just going to say this. I really like Kryla in that her kit just feels pretty cool. It's not like, it kind of reminds me of when Regina, a true dual hand finisher, came out on the JP side. A unit that was very different from a lot of other units we normally see. And this is just an interesting unit. I would actually kind of like Kryla over CG Lid. For some reasons, not for all reasons. I'm not saying just giving a blanket pass saying Kryla's the best ever. I think Kryla's really cool. I think that her theme and everything is very strong. So yes, taking a look at all 3 of the units, White Knight Noel is definitely just feels probably the most solid of units. He feels the most reliable and probably one that can be a good crutch to anybody who doesn't have Awakened Rain yet. Christine feels like a really focused ice mage that kind of missed out, but hopefully her enhancements are going to be really good. And I know that kind of sucks to say, but cheers. Here's hoping. Oh yeah, continuing on. But I do think that there is some good stuff in Christine's kit already. Giving the potentially anyone on the party an ice element after debuffing 100% for ice is really strong. Yes, you can't use it in all fights. That's definitely an argument that can be made. But at the same time, I think that there is something there. Last but not least, taking a look at Kryla. Kryla is probably just the coolest unit on this banner. She's so different. She's so weird. Oh, cool. I forgot that this was here. I just want to see what her limit burst looks like. Yeah, I just think that Kryla is probably one of my favorite units, but hey, if I was to get all three, why, I would thank Santa Claus indeed. Not Gummy. That's not who you thank. Anyway, that's all for this video. I will be taking a look at the other two units later, the two new ones, basically Felix and Tiana. So until then, have a good one, have a happy holidays, a good Christmas, and if you're doing any polls on the global side, best of luck to you. We all frickin' need it. Anyway, thanks for watching. See ya.